Space, 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 space.
Ooh.
Space, 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 space,
Planet.
space, 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 space.
So far.
Stars.
Out.
Stars.
Alone. You're alone.
Outer
Alone.
Aliens.
space.
Outer.
Space, space,
Space.
space. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Stacked, episode 71. Space movies. We're talking about space movies. I think this works for two reasons. Well, first of all, this is recommended by Caroline, a good listener and girlfriend of mine. She recommended that we do this. I think it was good. But also, Moonfall is coming out in theaters. I realize it kind of works out pretty well.
Yeah,
you guys excited for Moonfall?
I'm not gonna lie. I really want to go see that.
Yeah, Brandon and I might be. Well, Brandon's seeing on Wednesday. I might be joining him depending on when I get out from set. But it's gonna be interesting. I'm
seeing it at IMAX, a preview screening.
It's just like, why does it have to be like aliens that look like those tentacles from Man of Steel? Like, it should have just been like literally just the moon is crashing into the Earth. Like, you should have just rolled with that. You know,
Roland Emmerich's always got to go bigger and better every time.
Bigger maybe, so. But better.
Bigger for sure. Better. I don't know.
His movies keep getting better and better. I bet there is one guy that believes that. One guy.
I bet somebody believes that Independence Day Resurgence is the best movie I've ever made.
One guy. There's one
There
guy out
definitely
there.
is.
I didn't even see that. I was like, whatever. I stopped caring about him after 2012. Yeah, so we're doing space movies. What is space movie? How do you get up? Flying a little you climb a little tuna can, shoot out a parachute, go on a rocket ship into the moon.
Space
chimps. Space chimps may be on this list. Who knows? Maybe in this episode. We may have a 2-hour-long discussion about space chimps. We'll see. Fly Me to the Moon. Remember that movie? It's about flies who go to the moon. There's space. It came out like in the same time period. There's like flies that went to space, and there's chimps that went to space. I don't know. It was kind of cool.
I thought they were the same movie.
Wasn't there Space Buddies?
Yes, there was.
There was Space Buddies.
There certainly was a Space Buddies.
But this is an episode about just animals going to space. It can be dang people too, and it doesn't have to be going to space. It just has to be about space. Just something that's not Earth, I guess. How did you guys define what a space movie is? Brandon, what was your ideology of a space movie?
I mean, there has to be a certain degree of exploration, I feel like, when it comes to space movies. I mean, you don't have to necessarily set the movie all on its head in space. I don't think this movie is going to be chosen, so I'm going to say it, because I don't know if Chris has actually seen it, and I know, Ethan, if you've seen it, you don't like it. It's Contact. Have you heard of that movie?
Okay, I have seen it. I actually talked about this. Caroline loves that movie. She said she would have picked that movie if she was on this episode. I think the movie's okay. Hate the ending.
Yeah, I know.
Controversial take. Hate the ending. She loves the ending, but I hate it.
But that's a movie that really doesn't have to do with exploration necessarily.
It doesn't have to do with exploration, but it's about space.
Yeah, you know? So you could look at a movie like that, which is a perfect example of, I think, a movie that isn't about exploration, that is about space. But for the most part, I'm talking about Brave New Worlds, discovering new planets and species, or kind of encapsulating what it means to be a part of a universe.
Yeah.
Because it's not just an earthly film where it's dealing with personal issues necessarily.
Right.
So yeah.
That's good. What about you, Chris? What would you classify as a space movie?
Well, when I set out to make my stack, I wanted to kind of split it up and give a little bit of flavor to each of the picks. So I chose, the first one is about the idea of space coming to Earth. The second one's about Earth going to space. And the last one I want to do a fantasy space kind of thing. So I want to get a little variety going with mine. One thing I did immediately notice pretty quickly, and I wonder if you guys experienced this as well, is we picked a lot of great space movies already for Final Stacks.
Yeah, this was hard.
I have a lot of honorable mentions because of that. I'll just throw them right now just because they've already
been picked. Yeah.
We have Interstellar, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Avatar, Star Wars, Under the Skin, Dune, And there's a couple more, but I don't want to shout them out now in case someone picks them. But yeah, there was a lot. We've picked out a lot of great space movies, so I'm excited to see what you guys have chosen for this one.
I'll shout out one that we've picked for Final Stack, Alien.
Oh
That's
yes,
a great
Alien,
space movie.
Great space movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I sort of centered this stacked as like I feel like I got more fantastical as I went on. So I did a pretty grounded space movie about, just like humans going out into space, and then another one which is like still humans going out into space, but it's more science fiction-y, And then my next one is just like pretty science fiction, space coming to us, stuff around that. I'll get more into it later, but yeah, that's how we broke down these space movies, but let's get into the actual picks this time. But first, of course, let's go over the rules of the show. Once a week, we set a topic or theme, go our separate ways, construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we'll mix and match our 9 films, make the ultimate decision what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. First up, it's Chris. What's your first space movie, bud?
Okay. For everyone listening, before we started recording, we asked, are double stacks likely for this one? I think yes, but I think that's also just because I'm looking at my picks, and I think my picks are pretty popular among the 3 of us.
Yeah.
So all of them, I feel like, are possible double stacks. My first one is a movie that I really love. You guys actually both, I think, love this movie more than I do, especially you, Brandon. My first movie is Arrival by Denis Villeneuve.
Ooh, I didn't choose this one.
No double stack.
I didn't choose it.
I had a feeling
No
Brandon
double
might pick
stacks.
this one, but no.
I didn't. I did not.
Okay, well, Arrival. We rave about Denis Villeneuve a lot on this show. I mean, for good reason, in my opinion, because that guy's a genius, in my opinion. And here with Arrival, we have one of the most delicate sci-fi films I've ever seen. I'm honestly teetering on promoting this movie to a 5 stars. It's a 4.5 right now, but as the years have gone on, this movie has stuck with me so much. And I haven't seen this movie pretty much since it first came out. And the fact that I still think about it almost 8 years after only having seen it once, that's pretty impressive. So Arrival tells the story of this linguist played by Amy Adams, who is recruited by the military to establish communication with the extraterrestrial beings that have landed on Earth and determine whether or not they come in peace or are a threat. And I mean, it's no secret that Denis just gets sci-fi. I feel like Denis' films, on their concept, tend to sound pretty pretentious and droning. Just kind of oh, okay, all right, you fucking, you auteur, all right. But the approach he has to his films, especially with this one, is so ambient and gentle. Ethan, you and Milo call this movie sublime.
Yes.
And I agree. This movie is very sublime. Visually, orally, narratively, thematically. It's so delicate, but it's very powerful because of how it's stripped down sci-fi, but in a really great way, because it gives us access to. We're not overwhelmed by all the other facets that go into sci-fi. We're kind of grounded with what's going on in the story. And with that said, I don't want to go too far into the plot of this film because there's a lot of incredible twists and turns. There's one really good twist in this movie that I don't even want to say a word about, because I think if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Arrival, do yourself a favor and go watch this movie, because that shit was amazing. The film makes the audience kind of contemplate our place in the universe, consider the world that we have created, and connect in the relationships we have in our so small, minuscule lives. And I love a movie that can make us reflect on ourselves and the world around us. And I think sci-fi is a great way to do that. And hence, space. One thing I do want to mention about this movie, a little minus point, well, not really, it's not a big deal, really. In the movie, there's a scene where Amy Adams speaks Chinese. She has to convince a Chinese general to not attack one of the ships that arrives on Earth.
Yeah.
And I just have to say it. Her pronunciation is is like I literally can't understand what she's saying.
Yeah.
Like there's this great video on YouTube by this guy. I don't know his real name, but like the channel's name is Accented Cinema, and he does a lot of like analysis of like films and just like makes great videos. And just wanted to throw that out there. And also just really quickly, I want to shout out Don Cheadle in Rush Hour 2 and Timothy Chalamet in Dune for doing the best Chinese spoken by a non-native speaker in all of American film, in my opinion.
Wait, Timothy Chalamet speaks Chinese in Dune?
Briefly, he has one line when he's talking to the doctor while they're still on
yeah,
on the home planet. Yeah, he says
not Arrakis.
He uses
Sorry.
Yeah, they chose the right words. The pronunciation's perfect. The intonation's there. The emotion is behind the words. It's great. Anyway, Arrival.
And Don Cheadle in Rush Hour 2.
Don Cheadle, perfect Chinese.
Yeah,
it's kind of insane. Okay, Arrival.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Well, let me break down why I think this movie is sublime and why it's a perfect space movie. I was super close to picking this one, but I don't know. I feel like I didn't want too many double stack picks on this one, so I knew this one was going to be included, so I avoided it. First of all, this movie makes you rethink your, like you said, Chris, your place in the universe as a whole. It makes you feel incredibly small, which I think is what I believe is the sublime really is. You know, we talked about this in our film theory classes, that the sublime is supposed to be this like undescribable emotion that you feel, like this sense, you know, that's what the sublime is, like this uncontrollable feeling that you can't really pinpoint. And I feel like that is something you get from a concept or an object or a being that is beyond your comprehension. And that's space, you know. Space is beyond our comprehension. Like, we don't know how vast it is. I guess it's infinite, you know, so we don't know everything about it, and we never will, you know. So that's what makes it so sublime. And like how Denis Villeneuve plays with that in this film with these aliens, and how these aliens sort of process time and space themselves, and how layered it is, like how more layered it is than how we process time and space, is so fucking cool. And of course it has a great message about communication and creating connections instead of drawing lines. This has a very good political narrative that sort of bounces off how these people are talking with the aliens. It's very you can tell it's very Earth, the day the Earth stood still, in that sort of sense, you know. Took some inspiration from that, but I think this one does it a lot better in its themes of communications by using linguists and having them connect through the concept of language, you know. And yeah, one of the best twists in all of cinema, I think. I think we used this in twist. Did we use this in twist movies? I don't know if we made it to the final stack. No,
I don't think we did.
I don't think it came up. No,
I don't know if we've mentioned Arrival.
We don't. I don't. Have we never mentioned this movie?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
There were a few that I was surprised that we at least hadn't mentioned on Stack before.
Yeah, but we've never talked about this movie. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. Holy shit. Well, this is a perfect place to talk about it. So, yeah, and it's sublime in its visuals, its imagery. Like, I can't. The image of the spaceship, like those big landscape shots of the spaceship and the clouds going against
rolling over the
hills and everything. Like, God,
we have a poster in our living room, I think.
That's the first thing you see when you walk in our house. That and Jar Jar and Parasite. Yeah.
That kind of
holy trinity right there.
Yeah.
Sci-fi and
sci-fi
class drama.
Yeah. But yeah, fantastic pick, Chris. What do you think, Brandon?
Love this movie. I feel, first of all, kind of heavy, very heavy. I can understand why nobody would really want to rewatch this movie. I mean, and that's not to say it's like bad or anything. There's nothing wrong with being a heavy movie. It just makes it hard to rewatch because it's so dense. But I feel like this is a movie that utilizes its denseness to its advantage with its characters, because they're tackling such interesting concepts for like a sci-fi movie, because it's not all about, I feel like often with sci-fi it's cordoned off to like action blockbusters, because when you think sci-fi you think Star Wars, you think Star Trek, which are the most traditional and sometimes most popular space films. And
Yeah.
here you've got something a little more intellectual. I would say often you hear people say, this is the next 2001 A Space Odyssey, and they're like kind of like just saying that. But I feel like with this is like one of the only films that has really come close to being that way, both intellectually and from a filmmaking level. And I think we have had enough time since this film came out, which I think was 2016, 2017,
Yeah.
to say that it actually is, even if you haven't seen it as much. And like you said, the twist is great. I think utilizing language is such a fascinating thing. A lot of films showcase this really well with making first contact, whether that be with like something like Contact or
Close Encounters.
Close Encounters, which is through
very
music.
Close Encounters.
Yeah. But I feel like here it utilizes it to a more interesting degree, whereas like Close Encounters is playing with human perception and subverting their expectations based on what they think space and alien films are. So yeah, very good choice. Not a lot in space, but I don't think that matters, because I think Chris frames his argument really well by calling it a movie about Earth or people coming to space or to Earth from space. So yeah.
Cool. But yeah, that's my first pick.
Hell yeah, bro. Okay. We're off to an amazing start. All right, I'm next with my first pick. So like I said, this is my most grounded space film, I would say. That is, of course, because it is a biopic. It is Damien Chazelle's First Man.
Good movie, but no double.
You didn't. I thought you were gonna pick this one. You're okay. If you're not picking this one, I know you're picking the second one. I just know it. So we'll see.
He might be right. I don't know. I don't know, man. There are lots of good space movies.
There's lots of good space movies.
Sci-fi is like one of my favorite
good
genres.
Yeah, I think that's the funny thing. I think all three of us love sci-fi a lot.
Good sci-fi.
Good
I'm a
sci-fi
big drama
is-
head, but like drama can be encompassed into sci-fi. So
Yeah. I want to choose First Man because
underrated.
It's really underrated. It's my favorite. No, it's not my favorite Damien Chazelle movie. What am I talking? It's actually my least favorite. but
It's my favorite. You know
it's
what?
literally my least
No.
favorite. But that doesn't mean anything because it's still really good, which is funny, you know. Well, I haven't seen the film he did before Whiplash. He did a film before Whiplash, right?
It's Guy and Madeline on Park Bench. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen that one. So out of the three big ones that he's done, this is my least favorite. But that's how interchangeable they all are to me, because I thought it was my favorite, but then I had to think about it, and now I know it's my.
They're
least
all
favorite.
pretty great. He's never made a bad movie, but he's only made 3 movies. So
Yeah, a lot of
4 technically. You know,
this movie gets a lot of undeserved, unfair criticism by how people say they are so detached from Neil Armstrong in this movie, and like that they don't care about his journey.
but you're supposed to be unattached, bro.
But like, that's sort of the point of this film, is how like fucking emotionless he is and how tragic that is, you know. I watched this right after I watched Apollo 11, which I was going back and forth between Apollo 11 and First Man of which ones I wanted to. Apollo 11, the documentary,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Not Apollo 13.
Not the
Ron
Ron
Hanks,
Howard ever.
Not
Yeah.
Ron Howard. I'm talking about the documentary that is like
the
real
IMAX
time them going to the moon, which is an amazing. I think it's equally as good as First Man. So
Good
that's why I
movie.
was going back and forth. But I wanted to do First Man because we've already talked about Apollo 11 on documentaries, and First Man is the other side of the same coin, where Apollo 11 is completely observational and just telling you exactly how it is. Whereas in this one, it's a deeply personal journey to the moon, you know? That's something I thought I'd never really see with an event as like when we first went to the moon, where I feel like you're not really caring about whether, he can get to the moon or not. but rather just like if he'll ever find closure because of what's happened in his life and the loss of his daughter, you know? So seeing Neil Armstrong go through all this trauma of losing his daughter, his friends, and just like how fucking terrifying it is and how much of a risk it was back then to get to space, you know? People really were literally risking their lives to do this stuff. And it's just it's so incredible to see that from a personal lens rather than a third party lens, you know? And it leads for one emotional climax when he's actually on the moon and he's looking over and he has that bracelet from his daughter and he leaves it there. I don't know I don't know if that really happened.
But if it did,
damn. But it doesn't matter because that's just good filmmaking, you know?
It's thematically
it's thematically good. Like at that point I didn't really care if it didn't happen or if it happened or not, you know? It's just that just makes it a good movie. And the score to this movie is so fucking good. The way they Damien Chazelle sort of implements the instrumentals and the big band of sort of that he does in La La Land, along with like old of the time science fiction theremins that people associated with space and going to the moon. The way he implements those two together makes for one hell of a soundtrack, and it goes off when he's finally on the moon, you know? Oh, great movie about the human experience and space. So that's why I chose First Man. Brandon, I know you love this movie. What do you think?
I just think a lot of people are unfair because they went in expecting another bold not music movie, but bold movie that capitalized on what made La La Land and Whiplash so good. With Whiplash, it was the tension. With La La Land, it was the spectacle. And I think this film delivers that, but not in the way that Chazelle did in his previous two musical films, you know? And First Man is a very personal story, and the disengaged Neil Armstrong, which is because of his personal life, like part of the reason the way he is great. And you get to see that because they're picking a guy who is willing to sacrifice it all to do this really, really ambitious thing that humanity had never done before. And he was like basically willing to do this crazy thing. One, because it's like, you know, maybe it's his passion to be involved in aerospace, but also because of like the situation he's in. And you feel that recklessness in the way that he pilots and the way that he is trying to go on these missions and the way that he trains for them. It's like he has nothing to lose. And I love that. Yes, Ryan Gosling is a bit dry in the movie, but that is the point. And I think he captures that perfectly. And it's very personal, very grounded. You do feel tension, but in a different way. It's not like you're fearing for the characters, but you are like, with every moment, breathing in the breath of the situation and the momentousness of it. I think a lot of people went in thinking this is going to be like Apollo 13, very sentimental, very America heavy, you know. Yeah. And that's not what it is, you know. Yeah. And another thing, the film wasn't even nominated for Best Visual Effects that year. And the visual effects and practicality of it is actually quite great in the way, like, they research how space works. Like, I love it when artists take the time to make things scientifically accurate in film. Yeah. Whether that be like how things gravitate, or in the terms of gravity work, or how like real life events would transpire if we were in the moment. Like, how would we know what the moon landing was really like unless like I mean, it was recorded, but like we don't have any idea what that's like unless we've been to space, and the vast minority of people have not. So yeah. A terrific movie, and like you said, only a little bit of space, but to be fair, the movie is about space travel, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt there.
Hell yeah. Chris, what do you think?
Haven't seen First Man.
What? You haven't seen? What the fuck?
Why did you spoiled the movie, bro? I thought he saw it, to be honest.
I thought you saw this movie. You should have told
No.
me.
Gummo fucked us
What?
over, bro.
You
Oh, yeah.
you haven't seen First Man.
No, I haven't seen First Man.
Well, I don't know if I spoil. I mean, he goes.
I mean,
it's
I
American
know
history.
I know the story of Neil Armstrong. I don't know the nuances of who Neil Armstrong was.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah.
It's not like there are any twists in the movie, so that's
Yeah, there's no twist. It's just, it's his life,
Yeah. But
Fuck, bro. Yeah, Chris, tell the story of why you haven't seen First Man,
so
and what you saw instead.
so so we were sophomores at the time this movie came out, and we one of our classes had a scheduling conflict with a pre-screening for First Man that was going on at our school. So we were like, all right, we're gonna be good students. All right, we'll do it. So we went to our screening for our class, and instead of watching this really supposedly, like, at least at the time, I thought it was a really fun and exciting space movie. I know that's not what it is, but I don't know. We watched Harmony Korine's Gummo instead, which I think especially everyone in that room was really pissed off.
Yeah.
But we were kind of supposed to be, because that's kind of like the idea of that movie, and also like as sophomore film study students, it's kind of like it's a rite of passage to get really mad at Harmony Korine. Yeah, and it just never happened after that.
Well,
Yeah,
you got to check it out. I think it's much, because you like Damon Chazelle, don't you?
yeah. I mean, of his two other movies I've seen, like, I really liked them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've both gotten at least 4.5.
Yeah, I think you'd love this one then. Super good. All right, Brandon, what's your first space movie?
I'm picking 2005's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I grew up with this movie. My dad loves British people and their senses of humor. He loves like pirate radio and like Bill Nye and stuff. So like this was like the perfect movie for him. But I remember he was like, I've always wanted to recheck this movie out, but like it's nowhere. And then once streaming was becoming more and more like, I don't know, active is it the right word? We found it, and I remember he popped it in, and there's a musical number to start it, which is very satirical, and it's very science fiction-y and funny, and it tells the untold history of what's going on and how Earth is scheduled for destruction. And it's very macabre and dark, but it's juxtaposed against this very light and fluffy environment that is like in England, and it's very funny in that regard. And I feel like the script is so creative in telling how big the universe is, how like there are like a bunch of different like races and like planetary organizations that control like simple things like highways for space vehicles and stuff like that, and how we seem so insignificant to the universe in that regard, and how this Hitchhiker's Guide, this book, tells of like how humans and how any space creature can survive in a universe that is filled with so many different things that we, like you said, we'll never know everything, but all we have is this funny little guide that is like a guidebook, like a bathroom book basically, to tell us what to do in these situations. And it is dry and it's not for everyone, but it's extremely creative, and Douglas Adams' book I feel like does the same thing in that regard, his books, because it's a book series. But yeah, I love the set design in this movie. I love the characters, and I just love the worlds that they're able to create.
Yeah. This one's also another childhood favorite of mine. I know Brandon infamously teases me for not liking British people, but this one's a good British flick, I'd say. A really good fucking cast of people who just you forgot are like in these movies. Like you forget, like John Malkovich is in this, like Helen Mirren, and like it's just like it has some really good. Alan Rickman, of course he voices the robot.
Yeah.
He voices Marvin.
Sam Rockwell's in this.
Sam Rockwell, and he's fantastic in this. Bill Nye, he's like the dude who creates all the planets. He created Earth and everything, you know. And you know, of course, you got Martin Freeman, who's like the good, just like protagonist to take you through this world. You know, you're opened up to this world through his eyes. You know, and what I love is the practical effects in this movie. My God, there's so much great production design here. You know, so many built sets that you don't really see too often anymore.
Especially for sci-fi movies.
And all the aliens are practical too. Like, those
costumed.
What are the aliens called in this movie? What are the,
I feel like I feel like it's like an Orcflex or something. But like I know that's not like like a name. Their name.
Anyways, they're disgusting, but like they're all real. The ending still fucking freaks me out. Like when the ship first arrives.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's fucking terrifying. I remember being so fucking scared of that. And, like, Earth actually gets destroyed in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Like, what a way to start out a movie, you know?
Vorgons.
Gorgons?
Vogons.
The Vogons.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're just taking to so many worlds, and it's just so witty and dry, and it's just, yeah, it's a really great adaptation of the book. You know, I tried reading it when I was a kid, because I had like a hard copy of it, but it was too much for me, and I was too young, because I liked the movie and I wanted to read the book, but it was like it wasn't my level yet. I remember.
Yeah.
But maybe I should give it another read now. But yeah, great movie. Chris, what do you think? We all watched this together, didn't we?
I think we did for a movie
night.
Yeah,
very early.
I do remember. Yeah, I look at it now. My only review for it was from November 17th in 2018.
Yeah, very.
Holy shit.
A while ago. But,
November 17th, 2018. Oh my god.
We have known each other for a while.
We've come a long ways, fellas.
Shit. All right. But yes. So Hitchhiker
half a
Guide to the
decade.
Galaxy. I saw this movie for the first time with you guys. It just never came around for me for one reason or another. But yeah, I remember it being very fun and witty. It's fun. It's nice to see comedy find its way into sci-fi, because sci-fi does tend to take itself like seriously quite often, because like you said, like it can be a very sublime thing. So it's nice to kind of play on that a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of things I do think are very good about this movie. I think the script and performances are excellent, and the craftsmanship behind the film is great. There are certain things that I'm personally not a big fan of in terms of like certain aspects of the comedy or the way to design this movie, like in but like I mean, then again, I don't really remember a huge amount from it. Like I wrote in my review that I found its comedy style to be very sketch comedy-esque, reminding me a lot of SNL skits.
Yeah.
Which, like, I mean, if that gels for you, that gels for you, but it didn't quite land for me at times. But I know that's also just a personal thing for me, because, like, I don't know, I guess that brand of comedy isn't quite my thing. But I do admire this movie a lot, especially for how iconic it has become over the years. Yeah, and it is a very fun and witty movie. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and that's all I asked for it. So yeah.
Hell yeah! Oh my god, guys, we're almost running like at 40 minutes, and we haven't even finished the first round. That's how much we like space movies. So this is gonna be a long episode. I'm gonna let this be a long episode, because we love science fiction and space, and we just love nerding out about how cool space is. We love doing space. All right,
we're spacing out this episode, huh?
This episode's gonna be a bit spaced.
Not the Edgar Wright sitcom. Just
nobody picked that, right? Okay, no. Chris, that seems like a wild card Chris pick. If he's like, I'm gonna pick Spaced from Edgar Wright, even though it has nothing to do with space.
It's not a movie.
Yeah. No, but what's your real second pick, Chris? Lay it on us.
All right. This is a movie I believe we all saw together. It's a movie that got swept under the rug right after its release. People don't talk about this movie ever anymore. The movie's title is Latin for To the Stars. Ad Astra.
Double stack.
Triple stack.
Oh!
Oh my god!
Well, I guess that's kind of a blessing, considering
Yeah.
our episode's
Yeah,
kind of
now-
long.
We just said this is gonna be a really long episode, guys.
Wow, that's our second. Okay. Oh god. Okay, I'll try. I'll try and hit a couple of things, but leave you guys some stuff to talk about too. So Ad Astra is set in in a pretty grounded near future where an astronaut played by Brad Pitt embarks on a journey to find his father on board a lost spacecraft, searching for proof of extraterrestrial intelligent life. Oh gosh, I don't even know where to go from here. I guess like to start, like one thing
We
I'll
saw
say
this
before we
together, didn't we?
Yes, yeah, I think we saw
All
this
for the
together.
first time. Oh, IMAX
Yeah.
or Dolby too. I
I think it might have been IMAX.
Let me look
It's
at
one of those two. I know we saw it in a special format.
Yeah.
I think it was IMAX.
But yeah, let's just start with I'll start by saying the craftsmanship that went behind this movie I think is pretty fucking amazing. This movie got like no love from like anyone. This movie was like
Pisses me
But I-
off, bro.
Yeah, and this movie's aesthetic is great. It complements the story so well. When I was writing my notes for this, I was trying to think like, how do I describe this movie's aesthetic / atmosphere feeling? And the phrase that I'm gonna coin right now, I call it desolate vibrancy, and I think that's a great way. 'Cause
Yes.
I think that's so great because we'll probably get into this in conversation in a second, but like, it's so like luscious, but also surprisingly barren too. Brad Pitt's character is kind of this stone cold wall of emotionless, he's like an emotionless wall of masculinity, which may sound really boring and hollow to begin with, but given some time and some context to why, and the context of his emotionally estranged relationship with his father, you'll quickly realize he's a very three-dimensional character. I'll let you guys get into that more, but I think this movie is fantastic. You guys definitely gave it more love than I did. I think this movie is very much due for a rewatch for me. The last thing I'll say is like I think it's pretty incredible, like how kind of much like Arrival, Ad Astra uses sci-fi and like the limitless extravagancies of space operas to remind us of the most fundamental parts of our humanity, and all of that framed through the perspective of a singular, intimate character study. I mean, come on, how can you not be a little bit moved by that? Like, that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
But I'll hand it to Brandon first, because Brandon, you gave this a 5. So
A
go for
whopper. I think this is the most underrated sci-fi film in the past 50 years. I'm willing to make that big of an assumption. And because since Star Wars, the space movie and the sci-fi epic has sort of become like normal. And when I first saw Ad Astra with you guys, I remember expecting, I don't know what I really went in expecting, to be honest. I think it was like, it's an original sci-fi movie, so I'm excited, but like I have no idea what this movie's gonna be. I think I remember hearing about this movie a while back, but like it was always in development hell with a lot of different filmmakers. And when it finally came to it, it presented me with a world that I'd always wanted to see on the big screen. I wanted to see humanity reaching for the stars in a way that wasn't just in its infancy or way too far in the future. It presented like a world where humanity has gone to space, but they're not so far advanced that it's like Total Recall, where it's so weird and out there and super colonized that it just feels off. Like it feels like it's a future we will never attain. Whereas this has like moon colonies, and like on those moon colonies is like corporate sponsors and stuff like that, and pirates that live in independence on the moon. That makes sense, and it's a way that it's not too primitive, but it's not so far in the future that it feels far-fetched. And in that sense, it's grounded in that realism. But even then, like, they present like Mars, and this is like, they present our solar system in a brand new light. And it's not just the two places that we talk most about, Mars and the moon. Like, they explore deep space in our solar system, asteroid belts, space travel, all that kind of stuff. But even a part of like the technical stuff in this movie, apart from that, you've got that personal story that Chris, you alluded to, which is like, how does like a human being cope with trauma, and how do they live up to like their like past? And they do that in space because this guy is isolated with his thoughts and feelings. And you could think this movie's like impossible to shoot because there's not a lot of dialogue really. It's a lot of this character's internal struggle coming out through Brad Pitt's acting. By far his best performance in my opinion. Like leaps and bounds ahead of anything I think he's ever done in his career. Because he's been entertaining in something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I've never emotionally connected to this guy more than in this movie right here.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's because I have a strong relationship with my dad, and I feel like this movie captures that well. But by giving Brad Pitt's character space and by lighting the movie the way that the director and the cinematographer do, it allows for us to like read into things about the character that are there and that we will know about once we get to that third act, which I know might lose some people because it might play ridiculously if you're like with the wrong group. But to me, it works so well. So well. This movie is like, to me, like a movie that felt like it was made for me, to be honest.
Yeah. I was floored with Ad Astra. I remember, I don't think I liked the trailers when they came out. I was like, okay. I was like, what is an Ad Astra? You know, I didn't know it was Latin for that. And when I saw it in theaters, I remember just being blown away, by the cinematography. I loved the desolate vibrancy that you explained. Like, the way it does feel desolate and dark, but I remember there's, like, shots where, like, planets like Uranus and stuff like that, like the blues are like they're so vibrant and deep, you know, that it just like it captures the magnitude and like the mystery of space. And I mean, I could just ditto what all you guys said, but I think what I found the most personal and like what I found the most interesting in this movie was the relationship between Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. It presents a very cool generational like narrative of sort of learning to come to terms with age and learning to let go and learning that some things are just out of your control, you know? I think that is a problem people are facing with their parents in these times, you know, where it's like, hey, I used to really look up to my dad or my mom, and now they now have like this ideology that I can't even recognize anymore, you know? And it's come to a point where you just have to accept it and move on. Which I think you could definitely take that in a political sense. I think, like, I remember I talked about this movie with my dad, and he very much saw himself in the Brad Pitt position with his dad as the Tommy Lee Jones, where he just, like, there was a point in his life where his dad were sort of politically, he just had to be like, there's nothing I can really do to, like, sort of change who he is. He's different now than when I remember him, you know? And it's just sort of, you just have to move on, you know? And I just found that very powerful how they sort of presented that in the film. Not sort of it's not really in a political sense, it's more in like a narrative sense, in like how Tommy Lee Jones has sort of lost his mind by like sending these shockwaves that are affecting the earth, and Brad Pitt has to sort of like, there's no way I can convince him that this isn't doing what he thinks it's doing, or this yeah, you know? So he just has to like abandon him and let him be, and that's all he can do, you know? Beautiful film, good. It's got a good ape scene, a good monkey scene. It's got a baboon. Surprisingly so. They fight I remember being so fucking surprised. Do you guys remember when we saw it, and I was just like, yeah. Whoa! I just feel like baboon just ripping shit, kicking ass in space. I'm like, what the fuck? This is amazing. But the movie,
it's not ridiculous, you know.
It's like, not ridiculous. It's scary, and it makes sense. Like, they're transporting animals in space because that's like the level.
They're doing experiments and stuff. Yeah. But it doesn't feel like it's like Avatar, where like so developed that it's like
Yeah.
you know, like it's so out of reach or like it's too pristine to be real. It feels
me,
dirty and grungy.
It felt a few tiers in like scientific development to Cowboy Bebop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's similar.
Because there's colonies in that show, and like, you know, like the advertisement, what it looked like on the moon is kind of like that. I think Cowboy Bebop's a lot more advanced in some other aspects of like,
Space travel,
constant space travel. You know, they got like warp gates and stuff like that. But I feel like it's fairly similar, you know, in terms of like how it precedes like a society of a colony, and I thought that was so cool, you know, with the billboards and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Just great fucking world building. This movie, great cinematography. Hoyt van Hoytma, he's worked with Nolan a lot. He did Interstellar, you know. Did her.
Guys, he's an accomplished DP. One of the best working nowadays, I feel like.
Honestly, yeah, he is.
I don't know why this movie didn't get more praise. Maybe it's because it's a little dry.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah, very few people saw it too.
It's so sad.
So sad. Super underrated flick. Everyone, please check out Ad Astra if you have 123 minutes of your time that you can spare. It's a long movie.
It is.
I mean, that's 2 hours.
It's a good
2 hours.
It's
2 hours.
average.
That's 2 hours. I don't know why I said it was a long movie.
That.
I saw 3 numbers. I just think that it's long because I have a chimp brain. Anyways, yeah. Wow, triple stack. Who would have thought? Not me. All right. Well, Chris, do you want? Let's get into the final round here. looks like we've picked up the pace. We're now back on track for another average episode. So, Chris, let's do your final pick.
Yeah. So I think my last one. So remember earlier I was talking about like I wanted my last one to be like a fantasy kind of one, like a more fun or like, you know, just like a fantastical version of space. So I really want to take something. I've been teetering back and forth between so many different movies because, yeah, there's a lot of like, you know, like fantasy space movies. I keep jumping back and forth between 2, and I'm gonna make a decision right now.
Oh.
All right, I'm just gonna pick the safer one. I'm picking James Gunn's 2014 film Guardians of the Galaxy.
Interesting.
All right.
Oh yeah. Sorry, my mic was muted.
You were paused. You looked like you were taking a pause. I was like, is he about to say
I went, oh! And then I realized my mic was muted. But yes, good.
Okay. So yeah, I picked 2 very sublime movies so far, which, yeah, so like I wanted to shift gears here. And what better than my favorite Marvel movie ever made?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I fucking love this movie. I don't think this movie needs much of an introduction or a summary. Everybody knows this movie. I felt like I really wanted to throw this one in there because even for all of its Marvelisms and off-the-wall absurdity, I think what we get here is actually a really engaging and fantastically made character ensemble film. All of my praises for Arrival and Ad Astra, surprisingly, at least to me, carry over into Guardians pretty well. Like, yeah, a movie with a talking raccoon voiced by Bradley Cooper and a talking tree voiced by Vin Diesel elicits the same emotional impact, to me at least, as both those previous films. And all of those things, in my head, I just think of them as just wildly dialed up. It's a lot more expressive and like direct with its messaging, you know, and it has things like, you know, there's all this like sci-fi stuff, right? You have the Power Stone, the politics of the Kree-Xandarian War, the looming shadow of Thanos. You know, it's ripe for the picking for like sci-fi and comic book nerds like us. But what really brings me back to this movie every time I do see it is its immaculate world building, the colorful cast of characters, and its emotional storytelling.
Yeah.
Yes, it has its fair share of shortcomings, like every movie does, but you know, and like, yeah, like for example, the big one being Ronan the Accuser being a pretty meh villain, because they kind of just like, all right, he's a Kree purist, go have at it. Like, but in the grand scheme of things, none of that really matters to me, because for me, like the way I see this movie is that the Guardians are all like misfit renegades, completely displaced from any kind of normalcy in the entire galaxy. But at the same time, even though they can be cruel at times or selfish, they're all still people. people
Yeah.
with feelings, values, and by the end, the ability to selflessly care for others. And I think that's what makes them so captivating, and like why I would put this as a great sci-fi film, because it elicits the same exploration of our humanity, but just through this kind of more fun, fantastical approach to the sci-fi genre. And like one thing that I do want to really highlight about this movie is that what makes this movie so great, I feel like, is that every member of the Guardians is a victim of trauma on some level. I think Rocket especially is like a big one, like a big icon for people who may have gone through certain things in their lives and to look to for like reconciliation. And yeah, and like I think this movie does such a great job of keeping that kind of fun, upbeat tone, but not sugarcoating the fact that these are very broken people, and they've been through some shit. And I think that's why I'm so captivated by this movie, is because these are all three-dimensional characters, but they're also all funny as shit. And yeah, and I just want to say, James Gunn, I fucking love you, man. You rock. I love pretty much all you do. Can't wait for more. I dig this movie. I know you guys dig this movie too. I'll hand it off to Ethan first. What do you think of this movie?
Perfect film, I would say. I think it's a perfect film. It's very, very sentimental to me. It's one of those films that came out at the right time and place in my life, I feel. 'Cause just like, it's interesting, the common theme in space movies of space being so vast and expansive that that's good to do a found family movie, I feel. And like, there's no better setting for people to come together and embrace each other from different like parts of life, walks of life, than going through space. Which I found was just really cool that they did that in a superhero team movie. The Guardians of the Galaxy, they don't feel like a team. You know, they're not like the Justice League or the Avengers. They're a family. You know, they're like actually a group of people who just like, they saved the world together, but they found each other and they're a family. You know, and that's just super cool to me. And Chris, I was ready. I was ready to go all into that trauma narrative, but you cracked it out perfectly. They're all broken people who have been put into situations against their own will. Of course, you know, Rocket, the famous line is like, I didn't wish to be like put together and taken apart, like made alive, you know. Gamora, you know, sort of forced to be adopted by Thanos against her own will and become like this deadly warrior, this heartless like killer. You know, Drax, who had his family murdered and taken from him, and then, you know, Peter Quill, who was taken from his dying mother, and is now forced to live out in space as a fish out of water in some sense. He doesn't really fit in anywhere, and that sort of like gives him a false ego in a way, you know, claiming himself as the Star-Lord, this legendary outlaw. And then there's Groot, he's basically just like the heart of the film. You know, yeah. I don't know, there's no real trauma that he faces, but like, you need that anchor. I feel like
he gets his arms
like
cut off.
Purity.
That's trauma.
He's like the naive, pure heart that they all need.
That you need that in the film, and I just remember being so floored about how layered the Guardians like universe is, and just like how James Gunn is able to write these superheroes as like people first, heroes second. You know. I don't even know if you can call them heroes in a sense in this film. You know, they're just like, there's people that just want to do the right thing, who have like bad qualities about all of them. You know, they're not perfect, but they still want to do the right thing. And
Spike Lee.
Yeah, it's like Spike Lee. No, I'm a fan of Ronan the Accuser in this movie. I think it is cool that they use sort of like this,
hokey religious zealot.
This religious zealot terrorist, you know.
That's true.
That just like, it's a very good antithesis to these fleshed out, layered people who have to go up against this thing, because there are like people like exist like that in our world. You know,
that is true. Yeah.
Joel
I will say that it like I do give Ronan a lot of flack because like he doesn't get a huge amount of development, like emotionally speaking. But
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like within the context of this movie, that's not required of this movie.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
it's
not
like
a fleshed out villain.
He's
like,
not meant to be an empathetic
like
villain.
Thanos or Wenwu or the Vulture. You know, like he's not supposed to be like those guys. He has his purpose for this one thing, to support these characters who are the main stars of the show. You know.
Yeah.
And for that reason, he works, you know, and I love it. And it's got a great third act, you know. This movie makes me tear up every time at the end with Ain't No Mountain High, you know, with his mom getting Awesome Mix Volume 2, and just like,
There's a lot good there.
yeah, and it's just like, I miss when Chris Pratt was just known as Star-Lord, you know. I wish he just, or yeah, 2014 Chris Pratt was like, that was peak.
That was peak Chris Pratt.
He was Star-Lord.
Now he's Mario. Now he's Mario and Garfield.
Now he's Mario. He's Garfield. He's in the Jurassic World movies. I don't give a shit. You know, everyone hates him because, you know, he's in everything and he's part of the homophobic
cheated on
church.
his wife.
And he cheated on his wife. And he
left his autistic son. Yeah.
And it's just like, go back to 20.
Yeah,
that's a whole can of worms. Yeah, go back to 2014, Chris Pratt.
When you were lovable and you were in Parks and Rec, and
when you just came off Parks and Rec, and now you got this big Star-Lord gig.
You're not the passenger's character.
Yeah.
Is that going to be on anybody's list?
Whoa, well, last bit. No. Yeah, amazing movie. Perfect film.
Brandon,
okay.
do you have anything you want to put in there?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, okay, time for Brandon.
Yeah, that's what you're going to say, huh?
I could have sworn I went last. I thought you already talked about it. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't, but okay. I think this is a great introduction to the cosmic MCU after a brief hint at something more being out there in the first Avengers and the Thor films, you know? Little hints and hits there. But with the Guardians movies, you get cosmic color. You get retro 1970s and 80s stuff that doesn't feel like it's capitalizing on the 80s revival of the 2010s. Like, it doesn't feel like a Stranger Things, which seems solely to be a 80s nostalgia porn sort of thing. Where it's like capitalizing on the synth music and stuff like that. This feels more like an honest portrayal of somebody stuck in a time while the other parts of the universe are moving in very fast pace. And that's a very awesome place to be. I think this movie has a lot of exploration. I think the second one's probably a better space movie just because they go more places. And I feel like that presents, maybe they don't, but I think it presents a lot of different like realms to the galaxy that we're not privy to. Whereas like you're basically introduced to Xandar and nowhere, and that's basically it.
I would say this is a better space movie because this is like our very first introduction to the cosmic realm of Marvel in the MCU, and you're sort of taken through this world through the eyes of Star-Lord. Whereas now in Guardians 2, you're sort of more used to these worlds and these characters, you know. So
but it's still fantastical and
it's
cool.
still fantastical. Yeah, it's still. But, like, I don't know. This is one works more as, like, I feel like space is more of a character in this one.
Mm-hmm. I definitely get a lot about this movie still. I'm not trying to downplay it in that sense.
No. Yeah, of course.
But, you know, there's still that very personal story, which makes it a great movie regardless of it being space. I feel like often in space movies, like, you do get a lot more distant. And I think that's what works for films like Ad Astra, Arrival, and First Man, all of which are playing with that isolation and loneliness of being in space to a certain extent, or being in the universe and feeling so small and insignificant. But here it's kind of like almost like a joyous, it's like the opposite of that, which is saying a lot considering how dark James Gunn's sub themes are in his films.
Right.
You know, they're not directly tackled or anything except with Rocket's transformation into this, you know, talking creature. But it's like a celebration of the vastness of it all. And I love that you just don't know what's out there, and that the more that is unveiled, the more kooky and crazy it can be.
Yes.
It's very beautiful.
It's such a beautiful film. I think, yeah, these Guardians films will always have the most, like, I feel like they're the, like, in some cases, they're the heart of the MCU.
They're the most popular things in the MCU, even though they were the most unknown thing other
which
than
is
the Turtles.
so crazy. Isn't that insane?
They went, I remember when it was coming out, my mom's coworker at the hospital, he was like, what's coming out? And I was talking about the Guardians movie, and he's like, I've seen the trailer for that. I don't think it's going to make any money. And I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it makes like $700 million. The trailer looks fun. I mean, it's a Marvel movie. Like, they're popping off right now. Mm-hmm. And it made around $700 million. And I remember being like validated. I felt so validated by that. Also, it's like, it's great that everybody is now getting to know these like comic book properties. You know, even if I wasn't a huge fan of Guardians before, I knew them. I just prefer the movie version to the comic version.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I still remember when like right before that era of Marvel got started, like I remember there was a lot of talk because they announced a bunch of the new MCU properties that were coming soon, and like I remember I was with some friends, and like I was telling them about like, oh, so there's a new movie coming out called Guardians of the Galaxy. And they were like, what is that? And then I explained like who they are, and then they were like, wait, so there's a talking raccoon played by Bradley Cooper. And I was like, oh yeah, and then there's also this other movie coming out the following year called Ant-Man. And then and then they were like, what's his thing? And I was like, he can shrink. And they were like, who's playing him? And then I said Paul Rudd, and they were like, Paul Rudd.
I thought
nobody,
I don't know about you, Ethan.
Yeah.
But I thought Moondragon was gonna be in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, like in the like in the first movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she'd be, because her plotline with Drax, I feel like that would be saved for a sequel. So I never assumed that she'd be in the first one.
But now I don't know if she'll ever be in it, if that's the case. If we're playing that important, so
I don't know. We'll see. All I see is a white screen.
Is that Spyro?
Is that
the Legend of Spyro?
Is that an NFT that you're showing us? That your recently purchased NFT? No, I'm just kidding. What is that?
It's Moondragon from Dragonvale.
No, we're not that
Marvel.
one. We're talking about the bald girl.
The daughter of Drax. Anyways.
Yes.
Okay, Chris, you have an amazing stack. Holy shit.
It's pretty good.
God
space.
damn, that's a strong
good variety
stack.
too.
All right, well, let me finish off my stack, and I feel like this last film also goes into themes of the vastness unknown of space, sort of like brings found family together, and how one can feel ostracized and lonely. It's a story about a person who has never really found a family to begin with, and finally he discovers this family and his heritage of his own that comes from the depthness of space, and he has to struggle with sort of his like blood family versus this found family that he's made. It's a very touching film. Brandon, do you know what film I'm talking about?
No.
I'm talking about Muppets from Space, baby.
God damn it. I'm so upset.
I'm talking about Muppets from Space, baby.
Not
That's
a good
right.
movie.
You're right. It's not a good movie. It's a masterpiece. It's a 5 out of 5.
It's just all right.
No, it's an amazing movie. Let me tell you why Muppets from Space is a top tier Muppet movie and a really good space movie. First of all, what other movie can you say has paired 70s funk with the aesthetic of space? You can't. Earth, Wind, and Fire, James Brown, come on.
I'm going to say Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, Guardians of the Galaxy does 70s rock. This does like straight up funk, you know? You got Earth, Wind, and Fire. You got James Brown. You got... What else you got in this movie? I don't know. I forgot the rest. But those... Come on, you got Brick House. The opening number of this is all the Muppets singing Brick House. Come on, the Commodores. You got this. Come on. You got Gonzo, one of the best Muppets. Second to Kermit. You finally get to finally get to explore his character and his roots, and how he's such a tragic Muppet, because he doesn't know what he is or where he came from. And finally, this movie gets to explore and tell Gonzo that it doesn't matter that you don't know what you are, where you came from. That what matters is that you're you and you have your family, the family that you made while being alive on this earth, you know? The family they made with the Muppets. And I feel like that's a really good message, you know? I feel like there's a lot of weird films that are always about, like, family is everything, that Disney is doing. It's like Blood Family, you know? I feel like in Kanto, that's really weird, because, like, some people, like, your family doesn't have to be everything, you know? You can make your own family, and I feel like that's what Muppets from Space is teaching you. You know, the music's great in it. It's got 2 musical numbers, I think. They're not original, which is fine because they've covered amazing songs. The gags are good in this. You know, you got some great cameos in this. Chris, you know who's in Muppets from Space? Rob Schneider. Rob Schneider's in Muppets from Space. Yeah, boy. Who else you got in this fucking movie? I forgot his name. Jeffrey Tambor, right?
The canceled man.
The canceled man. What happened to him? Why is he canceled? What happened to him? What do you do?
I'll leave you to look that one up. I'm not gonna
Okay. Anyways, classic lines like the remote. Oh, the remote, or doctor, doctorly things. You know, you got the rat maze, got rat jail. You got rat boys in this movie. Got rat boys.
Little rat boy.
You got a talking sandwich in this movie. That's pretty cool. I love this movie. Muppets from Space. That's my last pick. Nobody else likes this movie but me, so that's why I picked it. Muppets from Space. Never gonna talk about this movie again. So Muppets from Space. Brandon, what do you think about Muppets from Space?
I mean, it's good. It's just like mid Muppets. Like, it's definitely like that transitionary Muppet film. You know, because it doesn't quite feel like it's like the revitalized classics like The Christmas Carol and Treasure Island, and it doesn't feel like original Muppets like the Muppet Movie, Muppets Take Manhattan, Great Muppet Caper. But it does feel a lot more like the Muppets 2011 reboot and like the stuff in between, like the TV stuff they did. And it's like, it's meta, it's definitely an original movie, and there's a lot of love that goes into the movie, whether that be with the Gonzo character or not. But I just don't connect with it. I don't think it's as funny. I think, yes, Gonzo is one of the more interesting characters in the Muppets, but it's a film that I just don't vibe with as much as like the other films in the franchise. It's like very mid. Like, it's perfectly fine. It's just, for me, I don't love it or even like it all that much, to be honest. It's just kind of in the middle. I liked it more when I was a kid. I'll say that.
I like it just as much when I was a kid. Chris,
are you bored?
What do you think about Muppets from Space, Chris?
I feel like it's like the 8th time I have to say this, but I've only seen the first one.
All right, moving on.
Time's up, Chris. Time's up.
What?
What's Cap holding you?
Nice visual gag you did there, Brandon.
Thank you. Just like Jeffrey Tambor.
Oh, did you just send me what happened to Jeffrey Tambor? All right, I'm going to read this out loud. On November 8th, 2017, Tambor was accused of... Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, let's go to your last film, Brandon.
I picked a Danny Boyle movie from 2007. It's another film that kind of has gotten swept under the rug the more the years have gone on. I picked Sunshine.
Oh, I've never seen this one.
I think very heavy movie. Another one where it's not super far in the future, but far enough to the point where humans have made advancements to travel to space. It's a climate change movie, actually. Kind of. Like, it's thematically a climate change movie. It's where these astronauts are traveling to space in order to try to revitalize the dying sun. And by blowing up a bomb in the sun. And by doing that, they will prevent the Earth from freezing over and for the galaxy from kind of becoming redundant and extinct of human life and of life in general. Very fascinating movie. Kind of a horror thriller, psychological. It's dealing a lot with like the human need for like exploration, but it also deals with religious zealousy. It deals with like the existential nihilism we all face in like a situation like a mass extinction event or with something like climate change, and how some people view it like, well, it's over for us and like there's nothing we can do about it, whereas there for other people it's like their mission to make sure that all things go as planned. And of course nothing goes as planned in this movie. Very good action in this movie. It's kind of all over the map in terms of genre, and it's very hard to kind of pinpoint what it is. But I think it's a very well done film. I don't love it, but I really do like it. And it also showcases a bunch of stars before they got famous. You got Cillian Murphy, you got Rose Byrne, you got Chris Evans. And then you've got like more well-established actors like Mark Strong, Benedict Wong, Michelle Yeoh. Mm-hmm. Lots of great actors in the movie. And like Danny Boyle's direction is top-notch. It feels very much in line with something like his 28 Weeks, 28 Days Later film series, where he's kind of tackling this dread we're feeling in a science fiction film, and I really enjoy it. Great soundtrack. I just can't recommend it enough. I think as time has gone on, I feel like it's become more necessary of a watch.
Yeah. That sounds really fucking interesting. All I know about Sunshine is like I feel like its score is pretty iconic, like its theme. It's used a lot in like other films,
trailers.
It's borrowed in trailers and stuff. And that's like the only really connection I have to Sunshine. And like I just always see stills of like guys staring at the sun, like really close to the sun. I'm like, damn, hey, put some sunglasses on, you know what I'm saying? Come on, that's not good for your eyes. I know you're only like 1,000 miles away from the sun, but still, come on. That's still pretty close. You burn it crisp.
Yo, chill. Yo, there's some pretty cool burn into a crisp moments in this film. Not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta check it out. Chris, have you heard of Sunshine? Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen Sunshine. I've seen a couple of Danny Boyle films, and I'm only really just now realizing this guy's got such a diverse filmography.
That is for sure.
Like so many different
Slumdog.
genres and shit. Like, yeah, Slumdog, Yesterday, 28 Days Later, Trainspotting, Steve Jobs, 127 Hours, and Sunshine.
Very out there.
I mean, like, I don't really know what to make of this movie. Like,
I own it.
For some reason, this reminds me a little bit of Armageddon.
Yeah,
it's better than
movie.
Armageddon. And I haven't seen Armageddon. I've just know the genre.
Well,
yeah, that's cool.
It does.
Yeah, I think you guys would like it.
Do you have it on DVD, Brandon?
I do.
I want to see it. I want to watch it.
I want to put it in my
Give
little
it to me.
eyeballs.
Put that sunshine in my eyes. It won't hurt my eyes. Come on. All right.
It hurt your arms. Little burnt Ethan.
Okay. I'm a little tanner. I'm like
you're not tan. You're burnt, you little boy.
I'm not burnt. I don't have a sunburn.
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I feel fine. No, I don't.
Well, you're wrong.
What? Okay. For those of you who don't know, Brandon has to give me daily skin checks. He looks all around my skin and my body, sees if I have any little defects, little skin. You know, he's very nervous about my skin cancer, so I always wants.
I saw the one on the back.
Okay. All right, there's all of our films. Let's run down these before picking out our final stack. So, Chris, you want to start us out with your space movie stack?
Yes, my films were Arrival, Ad Astra, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
And mine were First Man, Ad Astra, and Muppets from Space.
And mine were Sunshine, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Ad Astra.
Fucking asshole! No! God damn you. Alright, so Ad Astra automatically on the stack.
Deserves it.
Veto.
I don't want it on here anymore.
What?
I don't want it.
Worst movie ever.
Fuck this movie. I hate it now. Let's see. Fuck, man, this is... Honestly... Let's just go with Chris's stack.
No.
His is
I'm
good.
down.
Guardians, though? I don't know if Guardians for space movies.
Really?
Because there's a lot more things you could use it for, I think.
That is true. That's a very diverse one.
Yeah. And also, I just don't want to keep recommending Marvel films. Not because they are so multi.
Wow, Marvel hater. Okay.
No, I just don't. I think
Mr.
they're so
Oh, you think you're
no,
so much better than us.
Listen. I think it's a little multifaceted, you know. I think my fun pick, which was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, works too in that spot. And I'm not trying to just shovel 2 into the list.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Sure. You just think about yourself, don't you?
No, I'm just saying. I think it's a better pick in terms of like introducing our viewers to a new movie or something.
I want to lobby for First Man.
I would, but Ad Astra feels a lot similar to First Man in terms of its character, its lead.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind.
And I want to showcase the diversity in space. Chris, what was your other one that you had?
Arrival.
I think Arrival should be on this. That's
agree.
That's a good
come to Earth
grounded
movie, 'cause
space
it
coming to
grounds it,
Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with
I think-
Hitchhikers if we want to do a fun one, more fantastical one.
Yeah.
I feel so.
Because
it balances tone. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Alrighty.
What order?
Order here. I think we should do. Arrival first. I think.
Yeah, ending kind of leaves you wanting more. Not
I
saying
think we
it's
should
bad. I think it's great.
Hitchhikers second, because I feel like Arrival and Ad Astra are like sort of similarly toned. So I think we
You can bookend it with a better ending.
Yeah, and I think having Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy is a good middle. Little break between these two more dramatic films.
Although the ending of Hitchhikers is also really good. For me, it's good. I don't know if a lot of people will like it as much as I do.
Chris, what do you think?
In terms of like an order?
Yeah.
You've seen all the movies, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Which
all
one
seen
has
all
the?
these movies.
Yeah, I was thinking, which one has the best ending?
Not Arrival, because Arrival.
It opens the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Literally.
I think Arrival's a good first film because it opens the door, like it having a first film
For us
have
as
an open
humans,
ending. It's good to
And it
start
opens
off
the door to
stack.
space and aliens.
What if? How about this?
Yeah.
We do Arrival to like, cause we're on Earth, and then we, at the end, we kind of like get introduced more into it. At Astra, we see a guy go into space, and then Hitchhikers, you're literally just flying around space.
And it's like you're gonzoing everywhere.
Yeah.
Gonzoing.
Yeah. We've
So
already...
Yeah.
you're saying
What
we should have
about
Muppets from space?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Because, like, it's progressively getting more out there. That's my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
and
that.
And then once you get to the end, it's like, oh, it's so balls to the wall. It's, like, so fantastical.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Cool. All right. Well, let's run down Stack's official 2022 space movies, the most quintessential space movies. You want to learn about those dang old sparkling things up in the sky? It could be just be a curtain with holes poked through it. Who knows? What is it? These movies will tell you all about it. Saying space.
I feel like that's the next, like, conspiracy theory. It's like Flat Earther, but, like, poked holes in sky, little, like, clouds.
And
The
they're
clouds aren't real.
Yeah.
Stars.
Starting with Chris, you want to kick off our stack with our first pick?
Yes. Our first film is Denis Villeneuve's 2014 film Arrival. A very contemplative character drama that forces the audience to reconsider our place in the universe, the world that we have created, and the value and the connections that we make in our oh so small and minuscule lifetime as people on this planet. Next up
is Ad Astra, a very let's see, what did you desolate vibrancy?
Desolately vibrant.
A desolately vibrant film, sublime film about the depths of space and the emotional impact it has on us traveling through space. You get a very personal story juxtaposed with the vastness and sublimeness of the inner space. Not inner space, not the movie.
Not
the outer space. Not inner space, of outer space. And you got a good baboon in it, too. Ad Astra.
And our last film.
Oh, there it
The
is.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a wacky and zany exploration of deep space and the rules and governance of it through a handbook like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Fun movie, introduced us to a lot of great actors, a lot of great dry humor, and I'd argue you can't have Guardians of the Galaxy with a film like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes, because the galaxy part of it.
Oh, okay.
It both says they both end with the galaxy. Kind of cool. And it also has like Guide to the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, he left. He's back. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Brandon. Hi.
Absolutely despicable.
Oh. Space. Space.
Hope.
Space.
Despair.
Space.
You're so alone.
Existential. Fear.
Hello.
Hello, Papa.
I gotta get out of here.